Hey, welcome to another episode of Gig Stories from Fowler's Garage. My name's Damon, and my next guest is a guitar player that's been all around the world. He's played in a bunch of different bands. He's got his own project. He's part of a record label now. He's an old friend of mine. We've crossed each other's paths 100 times on the road, and I can verify that he is a road dog, so he has great gig stories. Please welcome my friend, Mike Zito.
Oh, thank you, Damon. That's wonderful. Yeah, well, if you play enough gigs, you got enough stories. That's for sure.
That's why we do them.
We live for the stories, right?
I truly do. Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, but when you first asked me, I was like, oh my God, like, what story am I going to tell? Like, what can I tell, first of all, without getting in trouble?
Without outing any of your friends or
without outing anyone.
Bandmates.
And then, just what would be fun. And, but I think I got a good one, and it's from the old days. So it's got a little bit of everything to it.
Very good. Very good. Let's see it. Let's hear it.
So it was in the 1990s that I got turned on to, I went to Chicago. It was 1992 or 93. And we went to Chicago. I was like 21, and I wanted to go to Buddy Guy's club. Like, that was the whole point. I wanted to go to Chicago was I wanted to go to, I had been, into blues and really into Buddy Guy. So we went to the club, and this is just to set the story up. And there was a girl playing, and her name was Joanna Connor.
Sweet.
And I watched this, woman, and I say girl, I mean, because she was like just a year or two older than me. And man, she was slaying. And I bought a CD from her. And that got me turned on. Like, I didn't know there were record labels that weren't, Warner Brothers, Sony. Right. I didn't know there were other record labels. I just knew this, and this was on. It was on Roof. It was a Roof record. I think it's the first Roof record ever.
Wow.
So then I started to. Well, the other thing was I was like, how does she have a CD? Like, this was still the early '90s, so it wasn't quite.
That was impressive to have a CD.
Right. I mean, to me, I was like, how did you do this? Where did this come from? That kind of thing. So I started to realize then, of course, pre-internet, that there's record labels besides these other ones. There was Alligator Records. There was Blind Pig Records. There was this new Roof Records. I mean, I really didn't even know anything about like Chess or Delmark or, I might have known some of the music, but I didn't really know anything about. But there were like smaller labels that did just blues or just country or,
right.
I was still learning. So long story short, I mean, I really then started to realize there was this other world out there of all this great music. And I started to follow. And then right around then, that's when Tab Benoit came out on Justice Records. And I started to see Tommy Castro. He was on Blind Pig.
Yeah.
And, just getting turned on to all this, and they were starting to come to St. Louis and play. And anyway, Joanna Connor came to St. Louis later, like in the late 90s. By then I was like, I want to do this. I want to be on one of these blues labels or one of these little labels, and I want to play gigs and travel. Like, I think I can do that. That was the goal. And so she came in and said, I saw you like 6 years ago, and I bought your CD, and I'm doing what I'm doing because I saw you doing this. So we became friends. And she said, have you ever played in Chicago? And I was like, no, I definitely want to play in Chicago, because at that point, the only thing on my head was, how do you get on Blind Pig or Alligator Records? So she got me gigs in Chicago. She said, well, you can come play with me. Come to Kingston Mines, I'm playing. Or next weekend, come to Buddy Guy's, I'm playing. And I mean, I was like, yes. So I drove in the car, and I would drive 5 hours from St. Louis to Chicago by myself with a guitar for no money. Or it was just for the chance that I could get on stage with her at Legends, And so I did, and I ended up meeting the guy that booked the bands, and I gave him my little CD I made, and the guy liked me, and he was like, hey, you sound pretty good, why don't you come up and play? And so I got to open up for like Wayne Baker Brooks, and I got to start doing some opening gigs. And it was like for no money, like
right.
$200.
Right.
You play 40 minutes.
Right.
But we would get in the car and drive to Chicago like it was such a big deal, you know?
Yeah, heck yeah.
So here's my story. That was my setup. I like to talk.
Fantastic. All right, I love it.
So my setup is I'm going to open up for Jimmy Thackeray. It is Friday night after Thanksgiving in 2001.
All right.
So I've been going up there for a couple of years now and playing and getting on these gigs and, you know, made my way in. It's very tough. It's very tough if you show up in Chicago and you're not from Chicago and you play. And I was white from St. Louis, and all the local musicians will know, like, why are you here? You know,
Yeah,
like,
what are you doing here, man?
So I'm going to open up for Jimmy Thackeray. It's after 9/11. I remember that. And it's a Friday after Thanksgiving. And so, I was hitting them hard always. I would send like Alligator a record and you know, please listen to this. And he would write me a letter back. Hi, Mike, this is not blues. I don't know why you're sending me this. You need to learn to sing, and this guitar was out of tune. Like, he would write back.
Right. I have a bunch of those letters as well.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I never got anything back from Blind Pig. And I had always heard, like, well, maybe Blind Pig, they're a little more like you could do a little more like rock and roll blues. So I kept sending them stuff, and nothing worked. And I thought, well, Jimmy Thackeray's on Blind Pig Records, man. This could be a good chance. They may be coming just to come visit them, you know? So I went and got a birthday card, and I put $1 in this birthday card. And I wrote inside to Jerry Del Judas, one of the owners there, Blind Pig. I said, hi, Jerry, you know, it's me, Mike Zito again. I've sent you my records. I'm going to be playing with Jimmy Thackeray, and I'll give you $1 if you'll come early and come watch me play. And I stuck $1 in there. I thought that was cute. Like, maybe he would go, oh, okay, I'll go see this knucklehead, you know. So anyway, we get there to the gig. And by this time, for me, I'm kind of in the throes of full-on drug addict. Like, I'm wild. I mean, I'm totally wide open, you know. And I don't think I even had a band at that point. I just called the drummer and the bass player and was like, hey, man, you want to play at Buddy Guy's in Chicago? Yeah, all right. What are we going to play? I don't know. We'll just play some blues, you know. So we drive up there. We get to the gig. And awesome side note, Buddy Guy and Otis Rush are at the bar at 4:00 drinking, and we're going to sound check. And I was pretty nervous. So we did our sound check. And then I went over by the bar, and they looked at me and they were like, oh, you're playing tonight, huh? You gonna play some blues for us? That's what Otis Rush said. I said, I'm going to try. And they said, okay, we'll see, you know. And all I kept thinking was, oh, please don't be here. Like, when we play, please leave, you know. So anyway, long story short, I get good and drunk. That's what I would do in those days. I get really drunk, and then I get on stage and just, you know, be wild. And it was still a pretty good crowd, even though it was after 9/11, because it's very touristy, you know. And of course, Jimmy Thackeray was there. He was really, really popular. And Jimmy Carpenter was in his band. That's how I know Jimmy Carpenter for so long.
Cool.
And he was in the band. And so we had a good set. Like, I mean, what I remember, I was like seriously totally wasted, drunk. But we played and I let loose. And back then I was just all about, I just play, you know. And everything went great. Everybody was screaming and hollering and whatever. And then the bouncer came and got me and said, hey, Mr. Guy wants to see you. I was like, oh my gosh, they're still here. They're still at the bar. This was at 9:00 now. So it's been 5 hours. Got really nervous. So we go over and he goes, hey man, you did all right. And he slides me over a cognac. And I said, really? He goes, yeah, you did good. The people like you. Here. So I toasted Otis Rush and Buddy Guy.
Wow.
And I've never drank cognac before. It was terrible. Awful. So I drank that, and I was on cloud nine, man. I thought, oh, this is my night. Like, it's going to happen. And I ran upstairs to the green room. And sure enough, there was Jimmy Thackeray and Jimmy Carpenter. And I didn't know what he looked like, but there was Jerry Del Judas, curly hair. And glasses,
Yeah.
And I said hi, and they said hi, and I had already played with Jimmy Thackeray many times then, and Jimmy Carpenter said, "Hey, Mike, have you met Jerry Del Judas?" And I was just like, "Man, this is it." I was so cocky. It's like, woo! I just drank with Buddy Guy and Otis Rush, and
yeah, here's my record deal. Here it goes.
Oh, Blind Pig,
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, nice to meet you, Mike." And I said, "Oh, it's such a great to meet you, man. Did you catch the set?" And he goes, "Oh no, did you already play?" "No, man, I just got here." And then he turned around and started talking to Jimmy Thackeray. And I was like, "Oh my God, really?" Like, I just blown away. And I waited around and I kind of waited. It was kind of awkward. And then Jimmy Thackeray went downstairs, and then Jerry was still there, and it was weird. And I said, "So did you ever get those records I've been sending you?" Yeah, I think I got one, man. Yeah. That was kind of it. And then, so I got bummed out. So I went downstairs and asked the bouncer, "Where can I get some cocaine? I'm ready to party." And he goes, "Well, just go down to Division and Rush, go into any bar, and it'll find you." So I did. This is a wonderful gig story, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
So I took the $300 they paid us. We went to Division and Rush. I walked in a bar. A man immediately offered to sell me cocaine. I just walked in. Like, I didn't even say hi to him.
Right. He's like, "Oh, hey, buddy.
All right, here you go." So I gave all the band's money away. We went to Kingston Mines. I ran in to the bathroom. The bouncer caught me. Anyway, it ended up with the band all left. I didn't pay them. They were all mad. I didn't have any money to get home, and I had to go to Guitar Center, and I pawned my Blues Junior and my D. Armand 335 so I could get gas money to drive home.
Oh, man.
That's a typical Mike Zito story before 2003. So it's a terrible story. It's not uplifting, I know, but it has a fun side note. Can I share with you?
What is that?
So, I drove home. I didn't have any money or nothing. Poor me. I just had a lot of problems back then.
Yeah.
And but I was in these positions where something might have happened, but I didn't realize, like, man, I was the problem. They kind of knew about me, these people,
Right.
They knew that I was wild, So I think it was 2012. I was at the Blues Music Awards, and I was nominated. I got to perform with Johnny Sansone and Tab, me and Tab and Johnny Sansone. I don't remember who else, but it was like, we all got to perform. It was really cool. And we got done, and I got off stage, and walked backstage, and there was this older man back there with kind of gray curly hair and glasses. I didn't know who he was. And he came walking over, and he said, "Hey, Mike, that was really good." I said, "Oh, thanks." And he goes, "I'm Jerry Del Judas." And then I said, "Oh, wow." I hadn't seen him in person, since way back, that day. And as he's talked to me, man, he pulled his wallet out, and he goes, "Man, I owe you something." And he took $1 out, and he goes, "I owe you $1." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "I owe you $1. You sent me $1, and you said, I'll give you $1 if you'll come see me play. And I didn't come see you play that night, and I should have." He goes, "But I had heard some things." He said, "But look at you now. I'm really proud of you, and I wanted to give you your $1 back." And I just thought, well, that's just the coolest shit ever, man.
That's awesome.
I got it here in my studio.
That's very good.
It is good. I got it here in my studio. If I knew where it was, I'd show it to you. I had him sign it, and I signed it, and I put it away. Yeah, it was awesome.
Good story, man. Hey, I'm Damon, and this is Gig Stories from Fowler's Garage. If you like the content, please hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and a share.